got some really scary news that occurred during the Tour de France, Mario. This was during the first stage of it. This event took place in Brest, France. So basically, what ended up happening, Mario, was a fan got onto the track, right, with a cardboard sign. And I guess he was doing it because he wanted to get on TV, which, if that's the case, good job. You did an amazing job with that. Idiot. Anyway, what ended up happening, Mario, is ended up causing a huge crash, Mario, with all the bikers. Cyclist Tony Martin rode into the fan who was holding the cardboard sign, and it was just a whole debacle, Mario. There's a tweet in this article that shows the video of the crash. So if you want to check it out, you can. Um, but I have a quote from Geraint Thomas. He said, and I quote, "It was stressful. I was just concentrating on staying on my bike, basically happy to get through it." And it was a pretty ugly crash, Mario. It really was. Um, and former world champion Julian Alaphilippe was involved in the first crash, but he stayed on his bike and ended up winning the stage. Um, Man, people just continue to amaze me, Mario. They really do. I'll let you start off with this first, but before I do, this article was written on ESPN. So your thoughts on the little situation going on here in France?
Well, to all the cyclists who were involved in the crash, I hope you guys, I hope not too much damage was caused or any at all. Obviously, I seen obviously there's definitely going to be damage. Like, obviously, you were definitely going to get hurt from that because obviously you ran because Tony Martin ran to the sign and then all the other bicyclists or cyclists behind them ended up kind of getting involved in it. So, to all of them, I'm wishing you guys a speedy recovery. I hope that you guys didn't take too much damage, but this is absolutely what you call stupid. Simple as that, like, and the tweet says exactly what I need to say, and it should be anything I need to say. The tweet said, don't risk everything for a photo or to get on TV. Simple, and I don't know what exactly the sign said. It looks like it's in a different language, so I don't know what it says. But again, we talked about the protester at the Euros and how he ended up colliding into the stands and again he hurt people, and that was a protester. This I don't even know if he was a protester or not, but all I know is this is absolutely stupid. The Tour de France is coming. The Tour de France is obviously like the bicyclists and the cyclists are coming. You should know to get out the way. And this is just him being careless. Did he probably mean to do this? Probably not. But again, it's him being stupid and careless. And because he was being careless and stupid, a bunch of cyclists ended up crashing. That's something we didn't want to see. Look, Nate, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with people. I really don't. I get it. You do anything to be on TV, but seriously, you're gonna. And then if you look at it too, and if you really look at it, there's so many cyclists coming that are on the road, like that are on the path or whatever it is. Correct? There's so many cyclists that are on there. It's like they fill up the whole path. This man's foot is literally on the path. Now, not by a lot, but it's on the path. And not only that, the sign is clearly in the dude's way. And you can't turn, and the guy can't, and Tony Martin, who was the first one to hit it, he can't turn because if he turns, he crashes into other cyclists. So overall, Nate, this is absolutely careless. It is stupid, but it's mostly careless in my opinion because you weren't even aware of who was coming. You didn't even think hey, if I put the sign out, something like this could happen. He didn't even think this through, Nate. That's what's really unfortunate, To all the cyclists that were involved in the crash, again, I hope you guys have a speedy recovery. I hope that not too much damage was taken. I hope you guys didn't get hurt that much. But overall, Nate, let this be a lesson to people. If you have a sign, there's certain times to hold it up and everything, now was not the time. Suppose that. Be aware. Be aware of what you're doing. And don't hold up a sign to get attention on TV like this, right in front of the cyclist. We've seen people we've seen signs in crowds before of that said something silly or something like that. Baseball and hockey are the two sports that are notable for getting their signs on TV. Whether it's a kid being hey, today's my birthday, can I get a sign? Can Fernando Tatis sign this for me or whatever, and they end up finding it and signing it for him. Or hockey, it's something usually with the girls, it's this hockey player marry me or something like that. Or it's or they got it, or it's a kid who has a sign. He's this is my first hockey game. and the hockey players end up giving him his stick and everything like that. So overall, like that happens, but they're not in like they're not in the way of the play. You know, they're not in a place where they can cause harm to the athlete. And in this case, you know, he held up the sign. He wasn't thinking, or he was being careless of he was basically being careless because he didn't see the cyclist come in. Tony Martin was the first one to hit it, and it didn't look like it felt too good, Nate. You know, like he was obviously getting like obviously he was getting basically he was kind of getting trampled a little bit. You know, because if you look at the video, he falls. And then not only that, there's cyclists who fall and they're getting like rode over by mistake because again, you can't stop. You know, you're part of a race. You can't really turn because the pack's all filled with a bunch of cyclists. So there's nothing you could really do. So because of his careless actions, a bunch of cyclists, you know, ended up getting hurt. I hope that he does learn from this, and I hope that others learn from this too, and think like, hey, before I do this, I might want to think about exactly when to do it so that it doesn't at least hurt the athletes. It's as simple as that. But this is just careless by the fan. So with that being said, again, I'm going to say it one more time to all the cyclists who were involved in the crash. I hope you guys have a speedy recovery. Hope you guys aren't hurt that much, and best of luck to you guys continuing on with the Tour de France.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, to the cyclists that were involved in the crash, you know, hope you guys have a speedy recovery and not too much damage was done. Yeah, this was pretty stupid, Mario. And you know what? So, you know, you mentioned how it wasn't his intention. So say that wasn't, you know what I mean? Either way, it's stupid because when you're riding a bike, like
Right.
you're driving a car or anything that involves you to pay attention, it's distracting. You know, why do you
Agree.
think in NASCAR, why do you think those cars don't have lights? Because lights are distract. You know what I mean? That would just cause more accidents. You know, but well, that's NASCAR. It's a different story. You know, you're driving over 200 miles an hour. The last thing I want is a light in my eye. But you want me to be real with you, Mario? I partially blame the tour for this, and here's why I do. I looked at this video, right? In the area that it happened in, absolutely no fencing on the track. None. Let me explain something to you, okay? If you're gonna have a race, okay, and you're gonna have fans, fine. I don't have a problem with that, okay? But this could have been prevented if you had a fence up. When you have a race like that, and I know what some people are thinking, well, you know, if there's a crash or whatever, that's gonna cause a lot of accidents or whatever. It's racing, it happens, it's a part of the damn sport. You know, now I don't want anybody to, I'm not saying I don't want anybody to crash out or whatever. You know, obviously I don't wish that upon anybody, but it's better than having something like this happening. You know what I mean? I feel like if they actually put up a wall or a fence or whatever the case might be, I feel like this would have never happened.
Well, I'll say this. I think the reason why they don't, I think it's because there's so many cyclists on the path that that's just going to take up most space. Now, what they could have done, now you got something going on. Now you're thinking the right way, Nate. What they could have done was with the grass and everything, they could have pushed it back. They could have kind of pushed they could have kind of created like a barricade or like a fence or whatever you said, you know. They could have pushed it back a little bit so that they do have enough room. They could have done that too. Because there's like a landscape view of it too. And overall, like, you know, there's a lot of bushes, a lot of trees, but overall, like they could have like pushed it. If you look at the landscape view of it, like the top of it, like the actual, like when you look at it from the top, they could have kind of pushed the barricade a little bit back if they were going to do something like that. So you do have some type of a point there, Nate. But I feel like the reason why they don't is because the path is so narrow that you can't really like, again, that'll just take up more room.
I just feel like when it comes to racing, because like obviously you walk on the track and you have something coming at you that fast, like you got to protect the track. You got to secure that area. Like, you know, like remember what happened with that racer that Tony Stewart ended up hitting? Like he ended up crashing out, and then he ended up getting out of the car, and Tony Stewart out of nowhere just
well, that was kind of.
I know that's different, but you get my point. You know, like you don't want something like that happen. You know what I mean? Right. That's just something that you got to prevent with racing. So I feel like when it comes to racing, you have to secure those tracks. Unless if it's an area where you're not going to allow fans, then fine. You know, like you see a lot of Formula One racing with the road tracks and all of that. They have like the red and yellow lines, so you know it's like kind of like a warning line or whatever. But they don't have fans around that, you know.
Right.
But that's different. You know what I mean? This is an area where you actually have people around. I feel like you need to secure it.
Right, and a very similar sport to this, where they have the fans like on like the actual land is golf.
Yeah,
Golf, they like the fans are like all around it, but the difference with golf is if you look at the fans, they're behind like this little I don't know what to call it, I really don't, but they're behind something, so like it's not in the way of the play.
yeah,
And
right.
the ball does get hit over it, don't get me wrong, but they see that coming and they move out the way. And they do a good job of it too, like the fans, they do a good job moving out the way. But overall, Nate, like you look at the landscape view, Nate, and they're so close to the path. They are.
It
They're
is.
on
I
the
feel like in
grass, but
that
they're so
case,
close to the path.
I feel like in that case, you shouldn't let fans in that area, in that particular area of it at all. If it's just that close, and even I just don't think, but it really depends on where it is. It's tough, but I say if
I
you're
feel
gonna
like
have fans in a certain area of the track, you gotta protect it because then
right. I
stuff
feel
like
like
this
they should
doesn't happen.
have. I feel like they should like because if you look, it's kind of like a hill a little bit. There's like a little like a tiny like not like a that's the best thing I can describe it. It's kind of steep. Like so, it's
Yeah,
kind of like a little like a hill going up. They could put like a barricade like up there, and the fans could watch it from there. Because let's be honest, Nate, the fans don't need to be this close.
yeah, no, they don't. No, they don't. And
But but
I feel like that just gives them way too much freedom. That's why something like this happens.
right, but the majority fault of this is the fan by far.
Yeah, absolutely. The majority of this is the fan. Obviously, you know what not to do, but I feel like the tour could have at least done something to, you know, so something like this couldn't have happened. So that's just my point of view on it. But with that being said, again to the bikers that were involved in this crash, I hope you guys have a speedy recovery. I hope nothing serious happened. As for the fan and everybody else out there, yeah, don't step on the track because yeah, that's not good
Right.
for the sport.
And before you end it, Nate, I'm gonna try to pronounce his name as best as I can, but Joshua Suderland was forced to withdraw from the race due to an injury sustained by the crash. So I'm wishing him the best of luck too in a recovery.
Absolutely. So best of luck to all the races in the Tour de France. And best of luck to all the ones that were involved in the crash. And again, I hope you guys have a speedy recovery. And as for you people out there, yeah, don't go on the track. It's not good for your health.